The unlikely meeting. In a realm where darkness reigns supreme, the grand hall of the Demon Lord's fortress stood as a testament to power and intimidation. The stench of sulfur and decay hung thick in the air, mingling with the oppressive gloom that blanketed the chamber. The walls were adorned with grotesque bone ornaments, and the floor was a sea of tattered red carpet, stolen from a bygone era. Tall, armored sentinels flanked the chamber, their menacing presence accentuated by the flickering torchlight. At the far end of the chamber, upon an imposing iron throne, sat the Demon Lord. His form was obscured by a dark metal helmet, his aura radiating an unsettling mix of dread and disdain. He peered down at the human delegation with an expression that hinted at irritation, impatience, or perhaps boredom. The human ambassador, clad in a crisp suit that seemed out of place in the grim surroundings, cleared his throat nervously. His guards, equipped with masks to filter the noxious air, maintained a stoic stance. As they approached the throne, the ambassador attempted to make small talk, his voice echoing in the cavernous hall. "I must say, your abode is quite spacious," he remarked, fidgeting with his tie. The Demon Lord's voice, a deep, growling rumble, cut through the air. "What do you want?" "We are here for diplomatic talks," the ambassador replied, his tone firming up. "We seek a ceasefire." The Demon Lord's laughter, a chilling sound, reverberated through the chamber. "You dare ask me, the Lord of Darkness, for peace? How amusing. Your armies were impressive, but now they are destroyed. You are in no position to negotiate." The ambassador, undeterred, adjusted his stance. "We are not as vulnerable as you think. The forces you encountered were mere scouts. The real battle has yet to begin." The Demon Lord leaned forward, intrigued. "Scouts, you say? Then you intend to send more? My armies will crush them." The ambassador retrieved a document from his pocket and unfolded it. "Allow me to read an order from the Global Coalition," he began. As he read aloud the details of a massive mobilization, the Demon Lord's expression shifted from amusement to concern. A sudden commotion interrupted them as a small, goblin-like creature burst into the chamber, clutching a letter. Its urgent voice filled the room with a sense of panic. The Demon Lord snatched the letter and read it, his eyes widening in disbelief. The demon tore the letter in half, his fury palpable. "How could this be?" he roared. His gaze returned to the ambassador, now tinged with fear. "How did you manage this?" With a confident smile, the ambassador replied, "We have more resources than you realize, and our nuclear armaments are on high alert." The Demon Lord's composure faltered as the gravity of the situation sunk in. The chamber fell silent, the tension almost palpable. The demon's dilemma. The air was thick with tension as the Demon Lord's realization of the impending threat took root. The ambassador's calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the demon's growing agitation. The chamber, once a symbol of invincibility, now seemed to close in around the Demon Lord, his thoughts racing. The demon paced back and forth, the sound of his heavy steps echoing ominously. His eyes darted from the ambassador to the shattered remains of the letter. His once imposing presence now seemed fraught with uncertainty. "You humans, you're relentless," the Demon Lord muttered, more to himself than anyone else. "You never cease to surprise me." The ambassador, seizing the opportunity, pressed on. "Our coalition is vast, and our resolve is unbreakable. We are prepared for any conflict you may bring, but we seek a peaceful resolution." The Demon Lord's eyes narrowed as he considered the implications. "You think a ceasefire will save you? Your forces may be numerous, but so are mine. I have armies beyond your imagination." Perhaps the ambassador conceded, "But we have something more powerful, unity. Our world has never been more united, and our determination is unmatched." The demon stopped pacing and faced the ambassador, a hint of respect flickering in his eyes. "You speak boldly, but words alone will not win this war." "And neither will sheer numbers," the ambassador countered. "We have strategies and technologies that you haven't encountered." This is not just a war of armies, but of intellect and innovation. A silence fell over the chamber, broken only by the occasional flicker of torchlight. The demon lord's expression was one of contemplation, a rare moment of vulnerability. He had always relied on fear and power, but the ambassador's words struck a chord. The goblin-like creature, having been dismissed earlier, now returned with a new message. It handed the note to the demon lord, who read it with growing apprehension. The message detailed further advancements in human technology and alliances, a stark reminder of the formidable challenge that lay ahead. "You have allies I did not anticipate," the demon lord admitted begrudgingly. "This complicates matters." The ambassador nodded. "And you have underestimated our resilience. But we are here to offer a chance for peace. If you continue this path, it will only lead to further destruction. Let us find a way to coexist." The demon lord's gaze remained fixed on the ambassador, the battle between pride and pragmatism waging within him. The next few moments could determine the fate of both worlds, the alliance of worlds. The tension in the chamber was palpable as the demon lord struggled with the decision before him. The ambassador's proposal for peace was a risky gamble, but one that could potentially alter the course of the conflict. The ambassador's confident stance seemed to soften the demon lord's hardened resolve. "Why should I trust your word?" the demon lord finally asked, his voice low and gruff. "What guarantees do I have that this peace will not be a temporary respite before you launch another attack?" The ambassador took a deep breath, carefully choosing his words. "We understand your skepticism. Trust is something that must be earned. But consider this. If we continue down the path of war, both our worlds will suffer immensely. Peace would benefit us all." The demon lord's eyes narrowed as he considered the ambassador's argument. The concept of coexistence was foreign to him, a demon who thrived on domination and fear. Yet, the realization of the formidable human coalition forced him to reconsider. "Coexistence, it's an intriguing notion," the demon lord mused. "But how can we ensure that this peace holds?" The ambassador smiled, sensing a crack in the demon's armor. "We propose a formal treaty. This treaty will outline terms for peace, establish boundaries, and create channels for communication. We can also include provisions for joint ventures and cultural exchanges to build mutual understanding." The demon lord's gaze hardened once more. "And if I refuse, what then?" The ambassador's expression grew serious. "Then we will continue to prepare for battle. But understand this, we are ready. We will not back down, and our resolve will only grow stronger." The demon lord pondered this for a moment, the weight of his decision pressing heavily on him. His pride was a formidable barrier, but the prospect of an ongoing conflict with a united human coalition was an even greater threat. "You speak of unity and preparation," the demon lord finally said. "But what of your true strength? What hidden capabilities do you possess that I should be wary of?" The ambassador's eyes twinkled with determination. "We have technologies and strategies that are beyond your comprehension. Our advancements in space travel, energy weapons, and artificial intelligence give us an edge you cannot ignore." The demon lord's expression shifted from skepticism to grudging respect. The ambassador's unwavering confidence and the evidence of human progress were undeniable. The realization that a continued war could result in his own defeat weighed heavily on him. "Very well," the demon lord said with a reluctant sigh. "I will consider your proposal. But know this, any breach of this potential peace will be met with severe consequences." The ambassador nodded, relief washing over him. "We appreciate your consideration. Let us work together to find a path to lasting peace." As the chamber's oppressive atmosphere began to lighten, the ambassador and the demon lord prepared to negotiate the terms of their uneasy truce. The future of both worlds hung in the balance, and the path forward would require both sides to navigate the delicate terrain of diplomacy and mutual respect. The treaty negotiations. The Grand Hall, once a domain of intimidation and fear, now became the stage for a pivotal moment in the history of both worlds. The ambassador and the demon lord were joined by their respective advisors and diplomats, all gathered to negotiate the terms of a potential treaty. The atmosphere was charged with a mix of hope and tension as each side prepared to make their case. The ambassador laid out the proposal on the ornate table that had been set up in the center of the chamber. It was a detailed document outlining the terms of the treaty, including provisions for peace, trade, and cultural exchange. The demon lord, seated at the head of the table, studied the document with a critical eye. "This treaty, it is comprehensive," the demon lord remarked, his voice betraying a hint of curiosity. "But what assurances do we have that it will be honored?" The ambassador took a moment to respond, his tone measured and confident. "We propose a system of mutual oversight. Each side will appoint representatives to ensure that the terms are adhered to. Additionally, we can include mechanisms for resolving disputes and addressing any concerns that may arise." The demon lord's advisors exchanged glances, their expressions revealing a mix of skepticism and intrigue. One of them, a tall figure clad in dark robes, spoke up. "And what of the technology you have mentioned? How do we know it will not be used against us?" The ambassador nodded, acknowledging the concern. "We are willing to share certain technological advancements with you, under strict guidelines. This exchange will be monitored to prevent any misuse. Our goal is to foster cooperation, not conflict." The demon lord considered this for a moment, his expression thoughtful. "And what if we discover that your technologies are more advanced than you have led us to believe?" The ambassador met the demon lord's gaze steadily. "We are prepared to be transparent about our capabilities. If there are concerns, we can address them through regular reviews and inspections." As the negotiations continued, both sides worked to address each other's concerns and find common ground. The process was arduous, with many points of contention and compromise. However, the mutual desire for peace kept the discussions moving forward. Hours turned into days as the negotiators worked tirelessly to finalize the treaty. The atmosphere in the chamber grew more hopeful as progress was made, and the tension that had once dominated the room began to dissipate. Finally, after much deliberation, the treaty was agreed upon. The document was signed with a sense of relief and accomplishment. The demon lord, though still wary, extended a gesture of goodwill. "Let this be the beginning of a new era, one where we can coexist and thrive together." The ambassador accepted the gesture with gratitude. "May this treaty pave the way for a lasting peace trails of trust." With the treaty signed and the initial steps towards peace established, the real challenge lay ahead: building trust and ensuring the terms of the agreement were upheld. The demon lord and the human ambassador had taken the first crucial steps, but the journey towards lasting peace was far from over. The ambassador returned to his world with a renewed sense of purpose. The global coalition was abuzz with news of the treaty, and leaders from around the globe were eager to see the agreement come to fruition. Preparations began immediately to implement the terms of the treaty, including setting up joint committees for oversight and cooperation. However, the demon lord's realm was not without its challenges. Although the treaty was a significant step, not all demons were willing to accept the new reality. Among the demon lord's ranks, there were factions that viewed the treaty as a betrayal, and dissent began to stir. These factions were not only vocal, but also influential, threatening to undermine the fragile peace. The demon lord found himself walking a tightrope. He needed to show strength to quell the dissent, but also needed to maintain the delicate balance of diplomacy with the humans. He convened a meeting with his most trusted advisors and the leaders of the dissenting factions. The atmosphere in the chamber was tense as the demon lord addressed his advisors and the rebellious leaders. "The treaty we have signed is our only hope for survival. It is not just a piece of parchment, but a commitment to a new way of existence. Those who oppose it are jeopardizing not only our future, but the future of our entire realm." One of the dissenting leaders, a towering figure with dark red scales, stepped forward. "You speak of survival, but what guarantees do we have that these humans will not betray us? They have already demonstrated their advanced technology and overwhelming numbers. What's to stop them from turning against us? The demon lord's eyes blaze with intensity. We have provisions in place for mutual oversight. Both sides will monitor and ensure compliance with the treaty. This is our chance to secure a future where we can coexist rather than perish in conflict. Despite the demon lord's passionate arguments, the dissenting leaders remained unconvinced. The meeting ended with a palpable sense of unresolved tension. The demon lord knew that he would need to take additional measures to ensure the peace was respected and that the factions' concerns were addressed. Meanwhile, the ambassador faced his own set of challenges. The human coalition was excited about the treaty but had its own reservations. Various factions within the coalition questioned the wisdom of negotiating with the demon lord, fearing it might lead to unforeseen consequences. In a bid to address these concerns, the ambassador organized a series of public addresses and briefings. He sought to reassure the people that the treaty was a strategic move towards a more secure future, emphasizing the benefits of cooperation and the shared goals of both sides. The treaty is a testament to our strength and resilience, the ambassador declared in one of his speeches. It is a chance for us to demonstrate that even in the face of overwhelming odds, we can find common ground and work towards a brighter future. The speeches and briefings were met with a mixed reception. While many were hopeful, others remained skeptical. The ambassador worked tirelessly to address these doubts, holding meetings with various leaders and community groups to foster support and understanding. Back in the demon realm, the demon lord took steps to consolidate his power and quell dissent. He met with influential demon leaders and addressed the concerns of his people. He emphasized the importance of unity and the benefits of the treaty, sharing his vision of a future where their realm could prosper through cooperation rather than conflict. Despite his efforts, the challenges were far from over. Trust was a fragile thing, and both sides needed to demonstrate their commitment to the treaty. As the days turned into weeks, the world watched with bated breath, hoping that the promises made would lead to a genuine and lasting peace. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with potential pitfalls and obstacles. But both the human ambassador and the demon lord understood that their actions in the coming months would determine the future of their worlds. The path to peace was arduous, but it was one they were determined to tread, for the sake of their people and the promise of a better tomorrow. The shadows of doubt. As weeks passed since the signing of the treaty, the initial euphoria of peace began to wane, giving way to the practical challenges of implementation. The demon lord and the human ambassador faced increasing scrutiny from their respective worlds, and both sides have to navigate a landscape fraught with skepticism and internal strife. In the demon realm, the dissenting factions were becoming more vocal. Despite the demon lord's attempts to reassure them, the factions continued to rally against the treaty. Rumors and propaganda were spread, painting the treaty as a ploy by the humans to weaken the demon forces and ultimately conquer their realm. The unrest began to manifest in the form of protests and acts of sabotage within the demon territories. The demon lord, grappling with these internal challenges, sought to quell the unrest by deploying loyalists to enforce order. However, this only seemed to exacerbate tensions, as those opposed to the treaty felt increasingly persecuted. In response, clandestine meetings were held among the dissenters, who plotted ways to undermine the peace process. One evening, as the demon lord sat alone in his darkened throne room, he was approached by one of his trusted advisors. The advisor, a seasoned demon with a grim expression, handed over a stack of reports detailing the growing unrest and sabotage activities. "This is becoming a serious problem," the advisor said, his voice filled with concern. "The dissenters are becoming bolder, and their actions are putting our entire realm at risk." The demon lord read through the reports, his expression darkening with each page. "We cannot afford to lose control now," he said finally. "We need to address these issues decisively while still presenting a united front to the humans." Meanwhile, on the human side, the ambassador faced his own set of obstacles. Despite the coalition's efforts to support the treaty, there were increasing signs of dissent among some of the member nations. Skepticism regarding the Demon Lord's true intentions fueled debates in political circles, and calls for a reassessment of the treaty grew louder. The ambassador held a series of high-profile meetings with world leaders, trying to reassure them of the treaty's benefits and the necessity of maintaining peace. He emphasized that the treaty was a strategic move to ensure long-term security and stability, but his words were met with mixed reactions. In a crucial meeting with a group of influential leaders, the ambassador presented data and projections showing the potential benefits of the treaty. Our analysis indicates that this treaty not only prevents further conflict, but also opens avenues for technological and cultural exchange that will benefit both sides, he argued. Despite his efforts, there were still factions within the coalition that remained unconvinced. Some leaders expressed concerns about the potential risks of trusting the demons and called for stronger safeguards to protect human interests. Back in the demon realm, the Demon Lord convened a secret meeting with the leaders of the dissenting factions. He knew that he needed to address their grievances and find a way to unify his people. "I understand your frustrations and fears," the Demon Lord began, his voice measured. "But consider the alternative. Continued war would lead to the destruction of both our realms. We must find a way to coexist, and this treaty is our best chance." The dissenting leaders listened, their expressions a mix of defiance and curiosity. One of them, a formidable demon with a sharp gaze, spoke up. "What assurances can you give us that the humans will honor their part of the agreement? How can we be sure that this treaty will not be used against us?" The Demon Lord sighed, acknowledging the valid concerns. "We are implementing measures for transparency and oversight. There will be joint monitoring committees to ensure compliance, and any breaches will be addressed swiftly." Despite the assurances, the dissenters remained wary. The Demon Lord knew that building trust would require more than words. It would require tangible actions and concessions. He resolved to take steps to demonstrate his commitment to the treaty and to address the concerns of his people. As the weeks turned into months, both the human ambassador and the Demon Lord worked tirelessly to navigate the challenges of implementing the treaty. The shadows of doubt loomed large, threatening to unravel the fragile peace they had worked so hard to establish. In the face of these trials, both leaders remained committed to their goal. The road to peace was fraught with obstacles, but they understood that their actions in the coming days would determine the success or failure of their efforts. The future of their worlds depended on their ability to overcome the shadows of doubt and forge a path towards lasting harmony. The dawn of unity. As the tension continued to build in both realms, the need for decisive action became more pressing. The ambassador and the Demon Lord both understood that their worlds were at a critical juncture. The efforts to maintain peace were reaching a tipping point, and it was clear that bold steps were needed to ensure the survival of the treaty. In the human coalition, the ambassador intensified efforts to build support for the treaty. He organized a global summit, inviting leaders from various nations to discuss the ongoing challenges and the importance of maintaining unity. The summit aimed to address concerns, showcase the progress made, and reinforce the commitment to peace. During the summit, the ambassador presented a comprehensive report on the treaty's benefits, highlighting successful joint initiatives and cooperation projects. He shared stories of positive exchanges and the ways in which the treaty had already begun to foster mutual understanding and collaboration. "The progress we've made together is proof that our efforts are not in vain," the ambassador said to the assembled leaders. "Despite the challenges, we are seeing the beginning of a new era. This treaty represents more than just an agreement. It symbolizes our shared vision for a future where our worlds can coexist and thrive." The summit was met with a renewed sense of optimism. Many leaders who had previously been skeptical began to express support for the treaty, acknowledging the positive outcomes of the initial stages of cooperation. The discussions also focused on enhancing the treaty's provisions, including increased transparency and stronger measures for dispute resolution. As the summit concluded, the ambassador received messages of support and commitment from various nations. The renewed unity among the coalition members bolstered the ambassador's resolve, reinforcing his belief in the treaty's potential. In the demon realm, the demon lord took his own decisive actions to address the unrest and build trust. He initiated a series of public addresses, addressing the concerns of his people and demonstrating his commitment to the treaty. He also implemented reforms to improve transparency and provide more frequent updates on the treaty's progress. During one of his addresses, the demon lord spoke directly to his subjects. "Our realm has faced many challenges, and we have always found strength in our unity. The treaty with the humans is not a sign of weakness, but an opportunity for us to forge a new path. We must embrace this chance to build a future where our realms can coexist in harmony." The addresses were met with mixed reactions, but the demon lord's sincerity and determination began to resonate with many. He also took steps to address specific grievances from the dissenting factions, offering concessions and assurances to quell their fears. One of the most significant moves was the establishment of a joint human-demon oversight committee designed to monitor the treaty's implementation and address any issues that arose. This committee, composed of representatives from both sides, was tasked with ensuring that the treaty's terms were upheld and that any breaches were promptly addressed. As the days passed, the atmosphere in both realms began to shift. The once palpable tension started to ease, replaced by a cautious optimism. The joint initiatives and oversight committee helped to build trust and demonstrate the commitment of both sides to the treaty. The demon lord and the ambassador continued to work closely, coordinating efforts to strengthen the treaty and address any remaining concerns. Their collaboration became a symbol of the potential for unity and cooperation, inspiring many to believe in the possibility of lasting peace. As the sun set over the demon realm and the human cities, a new dawn seemed to be on the horizon. The efforts of both leaders were beginning to bear fruit, and the promise of a better future became increasingly tangible. The road to unity had been fraught with challenges, but the resilience and determination of both the demon lord and the ambassador had paved the way for a hopeful new era. The shadows of doubt had begun to recede, replaced by a growing sense of possibility and shared purpose. In the end, the success of the treaty would depend on the continued efforts of both sides to uphold their commitments and nurture the fragile peace they had achieved. The journey was far from over, but the dawn of unity had arrived, bringing with it the promise of a brighter future for both worlds.